You're watching First News at 5. Your news and weather headlines start right now.
We begin tonight with breaking news as police are searching right now for 22-year-old Ulises Villalobos. Villalobos fled from the scene in Bismarck after attempting to run over a Bismarck police officer. The officer then shot at his vehicle. A blue alert was sent out by the North Dakota Highway Patrol this afternoon saying the vehicle was recovered, and police say Villalobos has not yet been located. Daniela Hurtado joins us from the corner of Montreal and 4th Street where the situation started this morning. Daniela.
Marcy, this is where the situation first started with Villalobos, like you said, and just moments before us starting our live hit, a cop car, a squad car actually drove away with somebody in the car. We don't know whether or not that person was arrested or taken in for custody. But like I said, those apartments behind me is where the police say they were conducting a search warrant, and BPD tells us the officer shot at the suspect when the suspect was trying to run him over as he was fleeing. Caution tape and police lights filled the corner of Montreal and 4th Street.
I'll be hopeful that the police catch their man.
Bismarck police say after the officer told Ulises Villalobos to stop several times, he did not stop. The officer then had to fire at the vehicle because it was driving towards him.
The officer was not injured. We do not know if he did hit the subject that was fleeing because we don't have him, and we're having contact there.
Neighbors filled with more questions than answers. One woman told us in her 30 years of living in the area, she has never seen anything like it.
It's too bad things like that have to happen, I guess, because, Bismarck is a nice, peaceful city, but it's growing up, I guess.
Police did not specify if the search warrant was for Villalobos. Now, police are saying their search is being mainly focused here in the city, and the Bismarck Police Department say the officer involved in that shooting has been put on an immediate administrative leave. Reporting live in Bismarck, Daniela Hurtado, NBC North Dakota News.
Now, as we mentioned, that suspect vehicle turned up on a quiet street just about 3 miles away from that initial scene. Our team coverage continues right now with Martinez. She's at 26th and Hillview, where officers located that black Chevy Equinox. Molly.
That's right, Marcy. About a half hour ago, Bismarck police towed that suspect vehicle from where I'm standing right now. Again, that was a 2013 black Chevy Equinox. I talked to police. They say they got a call that the car was here. The front windows shot out from that original altercation. They spent most of the day here. They set up a perimeter. We spoke to some residents who live on this street, normally a very quiet street, who say they had to shelter in place while BPD and BCI combed over the vehicle. Again, that suspect still at large. He had fled by the time they found the vehicle, which is especially disheartening for parents on this street because Simley Middle School is less than a half a mile away. Back to you, Marcy.
All right, Molly. Molly just mentioned Simley Middle School students were affected, as were hundreds of students throughout Bismarck Public Schools as officers searched for Villalobos. Law enforcement advised 8 different Bismarck Public Schools to go into shelter in place today. Cynthia McLaughlin joins us live from Rita Murphy Elementary School, one of the 3 schools that was placed under the advisory. Cynthia.
Marcy, this afternoon, Century High, Horizon Middle, Liberty, Northridge, and Centennial Elementary schools went into shelter in place after law enforcement advised school administrators to do so. At 12:50, the shelter in place at these 5 schools was lifted. Then at 2:15, Simley Middle, Miller, and Murphy Elementary schools went into shelter in place as a safety precaution. All of these schools are in East Bismarck. While the shelter in place was in effect until the end of the school day, all students were still released at their normal time.
That was a decision that was made along with law enforcement or under advisement of law enforcement and what they believed was going on with the situation. We decided to release the students as normal. There wasn't at the time believed to be a threat to student or staff safety.
LaBella says that typically a shelter in place means that the front doors of the school remain locked and the classrooms remain unlocked. Students are free to move within the building. That was the case today as well. Recess was either canceled or moved inside. Reporting live from East Bismarck, Cynthia McLaughlin, NBC North Dakota News.
And that blue alert that we keep talking about went out around 2 p.m. to many of your cell phones. Now, after getting this notification, many of you raised questions about just what this alert is. We sent reporter Maddie Jelseth to find out. Maddie.
Marcy, the Bismarck Police Department says it used the blue alert system for the first time this afternoon, and it's used when there's a threat made against law enforcement. The blue alert went out statewide because Alan Dorman with the National Guard says since the suspect was in a car, law enforcement believes he had the ability to flee outside of the Bismarck-Mandan area.
From what we've learned today and how the process played out, there are some improvements that we need to put in place. And some of that is better coordination between law enforcement and Division of Emergency Services to make sure that we're putting the message out clearly.
Dorman says there are limitations to the system and they're only able to put 80 characters to the alert.
All right, let's get a first check of your forecast right now with meteorologist Henry Blakes.